But when you do that against Kentucky, you're exposed on the backside with all those athletes coming in for lobs and offensive boards. So you got to find out how UConn is going to approach this game defensively.
It'll be Nolan and Randall. We'll be keeping an eye on Randall early, grimacing and warm-ups. Tapped by Nolan. Back to Napier. And Greg, a thought.
Well, also, remember the last game against Florida, UConn's guards, as much as they pressured, neither committed a foul in that game. And so you got to assume that's not going to be the case tonight. And then secondly, for me, UConn's guards like to pressure, and the ball will stay with UConn. And typically, you pressure to disrupt offense. Kentucky doesn't run a lot of sets. They basically are looking to play a lot of one-on-one basketball, so those two strengths will be going at each other.
Driving it inside right away for Boatwright for the game's first two. And these guards are so dangerous for Connecticut.
At both ends, Jim, you saw the drive, and now Boatwright picking up at half court. We didn't see full court pressure, just man-to-man half court.
We've seen a lot of teams that tend to try to cross-match against Kentucky because of the size of their backcourt. And although UConn's undersized, they have gone with the prototype matchup of their ones and twos playing against the Harrisons. So confident is Kevin Ollie that they can defend.
Bounce pass, and it wasn't there. A turnover by Kentucky, but one right back committed by the Huskies. The Wildcats only 4 turnovers in that victory against Wisconsin. Here's Randall, put back Johnson, no, and it's Nolan who snags it.
And you saw the athleticism on that play of Nolan. One of the first times you've seen all tournament that someone physically could match up with Kentucky on that front line when they attacked the offensive glass.
Napier, who took only 6 shots in the victory against Florida, but played a very solid game. Did what he had to do. With 6 rebounds, 4 steals, and the opening 3 rattles out. Napier's first shot. It took a long time before he got an attempt off on Saturday. Harrison, Andrew down low, Dakari Johnson, and this time he scores on the inside.
This is Kentucky's advantage. It's the physical strength. UConn is really long and rangy and athletic, but Kentucky can go right into the paint and into the bodies of the UConn defenders and have success.
But that's where the ability to pressure the basketball and not allow for those post-feed angles to be created.
There goes Daniels! Baseline, blowing past the Wildcats.
And I think important for UConn, the 2 guys that have been the most important and most inconsistent score their first 2 baskets in both Boatwright and Daniel.
Andrew Harrison drives in, and that was blocked. That was blocked by Nolan. Up ahead, Gaffai takes it to the hole, and he scored.
And this is one concern if you're John Calipari. When you attack the offensive glass as relentless as they do, and you don't come up with the goods, they are susceptible to get attacked in transition, and UConn has the guard plays to take advantage.
It's Young to the paint, and again, they're going to call a foul. First, it looked like they might let it go. A foul call on Daniels, and again, it was slashing to the basket. At this end, by Daniels.
And the speed and quickness of this UConn team has shown. I think they're a little quicker than Kentucky, getting out in transition. Also, Daniels getting that drive to the hoop. And the other thing we've seen here early, guys, I think UConn has taken a little page out of Wisconsin's book. They are selling out to protect against penetration, not extending their pressure as much, but really forcing Kentucky to shoot the ball from the 3-point line.
Interesting move here. Randall comes out after only 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and then Poitras, you spoke about him in the opening, with that twisted left knee in the victory pile on Saturday, and he's out here. We'll watch him.
I think the Willie Cauley-Stein injury is much bigger in this game, guys, than it was the other day against Wisconsin because of all the screen and rolls and the switching that Kentucky likes to do with the pick and rolls. But remember, Napier and Boatwright can go right around bigger defenders on these switches.
And remember also, because of the 2-point guards, they're never going to be in an attack position against 5 sets of eyes, meaning they move the defense, and when they get it on the weak side is when they look to attack.
Daniels long on the 3 and out of bounds to Kentucky. And the other thing about Cauley-Stein, you're talking about a guy that blocked 110 shots this year. I mean, such a presence, as you said, just protecting the cylinder.
And their best pick and roll defender, because he can switch onto smaller guards, and he's so quick laterally, he can stay in front and still challenge shots with his length.
And that's a great point. He can play in space, meaning at 7 foot, he can guard on the three-point line against guards and still recover to get to the paint to contest shots. That is a vital asset to lose for Kentucky.
Here's James Young getting it his way again. He was effective on Saturday, had a game-high 17 for Kentucky against Wisconsin, and he kept taking it to the paint like we've seen twice already. Once drawing a foul, leading to the line, and then that basket.
And getting to his left hand again. You know in the scouting report you're supposed to send him right, but he's so quick, still manages to get to that left hand.
Napier beats him, then goes outside, Defy, and UConn is not hitting the outside shot. They've had open looks.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at that steal. It's Napier to Boatwright and Poitras.
Did you see the misdemeanor committed there by Shabazz Napier? Yeah. My goodness. And that's something that he and Boatwright do really well. And you see here the contest there about Dakari Johnson, clearly a foul, but...
Well, that'll send Boatwright to the line when we come back after this under 16 timeout.
Welcome back to North Texas. Take a look at Shabazz Napier, folks. Good defensive guards. They time you, they count your dribbles, and they get a feel for your tendencies as a ball handler. And that play right there leads to the foul on Dakari Johnson. It will also at times make a ball handler more tentative because you know that a guy has the ability to pick your pocket.
So, Randall, you guys thought when he was out there for under 3 minutes, he was not looking 100%.
I thought he was struggling a little bit with his movement, and I think my initial impressions of this game, UConn is a much quicker team. They're getting a lot of looks that they can knock down. Kentucky's going to have to pick up its defense a little bit and try to stay in front of these guards.
A champion is going to be crowned tonight, and right after the game, get your official championship gear. Get locker room tees, hats, and more at the official championship store of the NCAA, ncaa.com/shop. And Boatwright hits them both. This is an outstanding free throw shooting team. The Huskies, top 10 in the nation this year. Napier almost got to it. Aaron Harrison still trying to find it. Picked off the ground and off the hands of Nolan. It'll go to Kentucky.
And that's one of the advantages UConn will have. They will switch defenses. They will show extended pressure. They'll come back. They'll give you a little matchup, then that relentless man-to-man, just to force Kentucky to think. That's what you want with great athletes, to make them think and not play off of instinct.
Amita Brima, the 7-foot freshman, has come in for Connecticut. Now you see also Dominique Hawkins, who gave them valuable minutes in a reserve role. 11 minutes overall of action against Wisconsin. Another freshman. And here's Poitras spinning and getting rejected by Brima, who just come in. Bounce pass, and the shot rattles home. That was Croma, who also had just entered the game.
And I think this is what we're going to see from UConn. If there's a transition basket to be had, they're going to take it early. If not, they're going to run a lot of clock, and already like the pressure bothering Harrison, a backcourt violation.
Again, you're going to get tempted when you sense how quick a guy is and how good he can be. And the key to this is the anticipation there. It just makes you a little tentative and hesitant with your handle. Remember, Andrew and Aaron, neither guys blow by you. They use their size to get to the rim.
Randall back on the floor.
The other thing we've seen, guys, is that off of that block shot, another transition opportunity. Again, that's a concern for Kentucky.
Here comes Napier, hitting the three-point shot.
This is the major concern for Kentucky. All these screening rolls, a lot of switches. Napier can rise up and shoot over the top of anybody. But when you honor that, you can get right to the rim. There's just too many things to worry about with him.
James Young, three-point shot rattles out. And Brima says, nope, that belongs to me. 7-0 run for the Huskies and looking for more.
And we've seen it all tournament. Both these teams have been great because of their ability to make adjustments. And now Kentucky's going to have to make an adjustment offensively because they're not getting the kind of shots we've seen them get over the course of this tournament.
Daniels into the lane. Brima. And this time does not get the benefit of a roll. And Randall takes it off the floor. back to Kentucky.
And I like the ball movement from UConn. Florida the other day after switches didn't move the ball. They tried to attack one-on-one as Randall gets fouled. But Napier and the Huskies have been pretty patient. You see the switch here, Randall on him. He's just going to rise right up over the top. But he's not going to get lulled into a lot of shots. He's going to continue to move the ball and kind of let the action play out, force Kentucky's defense to move before attacking immediately.
And the foul on Chroma, who had missed the shot at the other end. And it'll put Randall on the line. Again, a Dallas kid right here. Next Monday, Lindsay Lohan guest stars as a high-maintenance bride-to-be on a new two-row girls. New time, 8, 7 Central. Only CBS. Julius Randall, a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. His heroes are Tony Romo and Des Bryant, who are accustomed to putting some points on the board right here inside of this beautiful edifice. And Randall hits 2.
And Hawkins, I think, guys, is going to be important because he's their best perimeter defender. And so while not the strength offensively that the other guys provide for Kentucky, his defense may be more important in this game.
Get 5. Back to Napier, who wants it. You can see it. And he almost got another one. And the rebound bounces out to Gafai and a reset for the Huskies. Now, Napier falls to the floor. And so, too, does Marcus Lee.
Could be a block on Lee. I thought Napier was terrific the other day against Florida with his patience. Florida did a nice job containing him, and he never forced the issue. He just kept moving the ball like a senior does. This time he frees himself up for an easy 2.
Count that basket, and did you see that savvy move to get open on the inbounds pass?
A little slip. Just in the eyes, you can see they're reading one another on that play. Beautiful connection between those two on that baseline out of bounds, and then you get to see the extension of their pressure.
Andrew Harrison, tough angle. Not there. Boatwright, and the Huskies want to run with it. They got the numbers. Then they go to the trailer, who says, you know what, Marcus Lee's going to block it if I take it. And I'm going to go numbers. Instead, he spun him around and took him to the other side. What a beautiful move by Ryan Boatwright. Kentucky's gone over 4 minutes without a field goal. And the Huskies have the early momentum in the national championship game. Tracy Wolfson's been by that Kentucky bench during the timeout. What have you heard, Tracy?
Well, first off, do not expect to see Julius Randall when they get back out on the court. He'll remain on the bench. I think it may be cramping. The athletic trainer continues to come over and just keeps giving him water. Remember that Julius Randall had trouble with cramps at that Louisville game in December. He missed a whole half, so it is something to keep an eye on, guys.
And then again, too, hobbling with that rolling of the right ankle in the victory over Wisconsin on Saturday. Same foot that he broke in the second game of his senior year here at Prestonwood Christian High School. And he did not come back for 3 months until the state championship game when he scored 17 and they won another title.
UConn goes back to zone now. This is about the 3rd different look we've seen, just trying to keep Kentucky off balance.
Aaron Harrison misses. Wisconsin's wondering why wasn't that the result on Saturday from the same spot. Driving in between 2 Kentucky players. And a foul call on the Wildcats. That was Lasan Chroma taking it to the hole. And, you know, actually it's going against him.
I think was it Brima?
They called on Brima.
This is going to be an interesting stretch here from Kentucky's standpoint. Remember, they've in essence been in this same position the last 4 games. They trailed going into the half of all 4, and they were able to come back. And they've been down significant deficits as well. But I think Andrew and Aaron Harrison are 2 guys that have got to figure out a way to play against this pressure and quickness of UConn's backcourt.
Missing the last 4 shots from the field. Hawkins back outside, and the Twins pass it between them with 7 to shoot. Splitting the defenders, taking it in, and followed up by Poitras. He puts the exclamation point on so many follow-ups.
Well, it's their best offense. We've seen it all tournament. Just get into the paint, any kind of penetration, get to the rim and put the ball up there and let your bigs go get it.
Boatwright, though, able to neutralize it with a quick 2 at the other end. asking for a screen. And then feeding it to Hawkins. And Napier tumbles over him. And he's getting up. Here's Poitras. Hawkins, the little man on the floor, able to get inside and get the rebound, partly because Napier was slow to get up.
No doubt about it. Kentucky's best offense at times is a shot at the rim. You're going to see the effort of Poitras showing no ill effect from that ankle. And Boatwright back at you with his own bucket.
For all of you parents with aspiring golfers at home, the Masters Tournament, the USGA, and the PGA of America hosted the inaugural Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals Sunday. You go online to drivechipandputt.com right now for more information and register for next year. It's wide open right now. And we'll see you this weekend from Augusta National. We're going to have now Hawkins at the line after a foul by Boatwright. Freshman from just outside of Lexington. And Kentucky in familiar territory, trailing in tournament games, including that Louisville game where they were staggered early, down 18-5.
And that's true. But John Calipari is going to have his greatest challenge as a coach in this tournament, I believe, because unlike Louisville, who has a terrific backcourt, I don't know that their backcourt is at the same level IQ-wise that you get with UConn, not to mention the way they shoot free throws. So he's going to have to come up with some schemes to get his guys some confidence.
Napier, no. And Bakari Johnson has the rebound. UConn's put another guard on the floor. Then Terrence Samuel with number 3.
The issue for Calipari, though, this is a freshman-laden team. They had to really scale back on schemes with this group because of their inexperience. Pick and roll coverage, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can cover it, but you've got to have execution and precision and experience. Kentucky has switched 1 through 5 all year just to make it simple for these guys. I'm not sure they have other schemes.
There's another steal, and that's the one we just talked about. The freshman who come in, Samuel, who then almost has it taken right back by Hawkins.
Size, and then just the ability to come in. Look how cleanly he's able to clip that. And you can see the frustration right there on Andrew Harrison running back. The other thing, though, you still as a player, they'll have to make the adjustment to the speed with which UConn plays. And we've seen that over the course of this tournament. They've done that, even though they're a young team and it has been simplified. You know, they do have an ability to make the adjustments at times. And let's just see if that still prevails here tonight.
Daniels, who's had big games in this tournament, including a double-double on Saturday. Napier. Young, right on him. And the switch off. Daniels challenging Randall. Takes it to him, and Randall says, not this time. Goodbye, doesn't know it. 1 to shoot. Not in time.
And how about the block by Julius Randall? That was so impressive because he didn't get a chance to gather, because Daniels, that nudge right there doesn't allow him to gather. Still able to elevate and block that clean. That is an impressive play defensively.
And that was the first adjustment we've seen. Kentucky now fighting over the screen rather than switching, and that allowed them to stay man on man and allowed Randall to get that block. So we'll see if UConn now makes the adjustment in terms of how they run their pick and roll to attack what they're seeing.
Kentucky with 10 points in the first 10 minutes, and then the jumper finally. Kentucky at 19-12 down, and already having committed 4 turnovers. And one of the most impressive things about this freshman bunch is that against Wisconsin, only 4 turnovers for the whole game. And inside, Samuel makes it in with the left hand.
And the quickness of Napier to keep the ball alive. Remember, though, Jim, Wisconsin's not a team that forces turnovers. That's not the style with which they play. They don't have that scheme in their game, whereas UConn is a team that's going to be more disruptive defensively because of that perimeter quickness.
Backing in to Bakari Johnson, and blocked from behind by Daniels. Misses the short shot and pulled away with aggression by Bryma.
Length and activity, the key for this UConn front line defensively. They can't deal with the strength, but they can bother Kentucky's field goal attempts just by getting hands up.
And a 3-point shot, swish!
That's just a difficult matchup, guys, for James Young. I mean, Napier's just so savvy, and he's so solid with his decision-making.
I think it's Napier's game tonight. Yes. With the matchups, the way this game is being played, I think he's headed for a huge night.
Andrew Harrison bangs home a three. Napier's got a look about him. First couple times down the floor, we even talked about it in the break. He looks like he knows he can have it his way.
He feels like every time he takes the floor, he's the best player on the floor. But having said that, you saw a little adjustment from Kentucky offensively, where Andrew's been able to get to the mid-range and in there with the three as Daniel's able to hit that little step back on the baseline.
Wow. I mean, that was an impressive, that was a Dirk Nowitzki step back move.
And, you know, the other thing we haven't really discussed, Kentucky has not played well defensively the entire tournament. It's been about what they've been able to do offensively in terms of their efficiency that's allowed them to advance.
Young likes this spot. That's Napier, who has the most rebounds of any Husky, coming inside to get the rebound. Then the dish. And no from the inside. Grima had a little chippy and was unable to convert. But we reached the break. Kentucky shooting only 31%. UConn led by Boatwright's 8 points and a double-digit lead.
Coverage of the NCAA Men's National Championship game is sponsored by Allstate, Mercedes-Benz, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and by AT&T.
7 and change to go, and look at the bottom. The starting guards for UConn have outscored Kentucky on their own, 16-15.
And this is what we've talked about, guys, the pick and roll coverage for Kentucky. This is not a great pick and roll defensive team. They're going against probably the best pick and roll player in the country in Shabazz Napier. He gets the switch here. He gets Julius Randle on his heels. He rises up. How many times did you see this against Michigan State last week? Napier can have his way in this game.
And you made that point earlier, Steve. Remember, I think, and he's such a smart player, he went into the Florida game knowing in terms of the style that he wasn't going to be as aggressive because of how they would scheme him. But he knew in this game, matchup-wise, that they didn't have the personnel to really disrupt what he wants to do. And so that's why I think you're seeing him far more aggressive at setting the tone here early on.
They come out of the break, and again, the best player, Randle, is taking a break. He's only attempted 1 shot, didn't make it, has not made a shot from the field, just a couple of free throws. So he's not his usual force. And that's Boatwright. It's always the Huskies, it seems, with the quickest hands tonight. And Napier, that will count. Poitras swats it away after it comes off the glass and was headed home.
They have 2 bulldogs in the backcourt.
Yeah.
You look at Boatwright and Napier. They have as good a ball instincts as any backcourt you're going to see. And by that, I mean, you watch how the game develops. They're always around the basketball, via rebounding, loose balls, deflections. They just have an innate ability to find the ball.
And it's heading back to Connecticut. And Kentucky's largest deficit of the tournament has been matched at 13 down.
Well, they're rattled right now, and they're completely out of sorts. I mean, Young steps a foot out of bounds. Speed kills. I mean, this is a story of quickness right now. Kentucky, a much slower team, and now they're going to fall back into the zone here.
Which is, I think, a smart move just to try to change up the rhythm that UConn's gotten at attacking this defense.
Napier to the baseline. Defies a good outside shooter. Steps in and fouled by Poitras in the act of shooting.
That's and the other thing, it could almost be nightmarish. Just think about it. You go zone, and typically a zone is to try to force non-decision makers to make decisions in terms of your frontline players. Defy and Daniels are really good with the basketball at the high post.
They've run a little zone in the tournament. You guys saw some of it against Louisville. Not a whole lot. They'll show some 1-3-1, but this is a team that would rather stay man-to-man.
Get the most complete coverage of the sports you love all year long with the Team Stream app from Bleacher Report. Go deeper with Team Stream on your iPad, iPhone, or Android device today as Randle comes back in. Defy is from Berlin, Germany. His parents, Christine and Frank, are watching this right now on March Madness Live at 3:45 in the morning in their living room. They've hooked up the computer to their television, as is his high school coach, who won a national championship under Dean Smith's '93 team. You'll remember, a lot of you, Henrik Rodel.
Yeah, sure.
And he's back there watching, streaming in Germany, and very proud of Gaffai, who hits the 2 free throws.
And you know how we talked about for Napier, this game is a good matchup for him. I think it's the same for Randall. I think this is a game that Randall can have an opportunity to be aggressive. I think that's the second on Daniels. And he's going to have to be the guy. The key, though, if you're Kentucky, your backcourt has to recognize that. Andrew and Aaron they have to understand where the matchup lies in order for them to have success offensively.
The question I have, you mentioned this early in the game, they don't run a lot of sets.
No.
I mean, they've relied so heavily on the penetration of the Harrisons. So now, how do you make the adjustment? You're not an elaborate offensive scheming team, and you got a bunch of freshmen. So this is a huge challenge.
Young's able to knock that one down. And a moment there we should reflect on. Daniels picks up his second, so he had to go to the bench. And a steal. That is Aaron Harrison knocking it down. The steal and the dunk, and a quick 5-point flurry for the Cats.
And just like that, the length of the zone by Aaron Harrison comes up with the steal. Finally, Kentucky showing some confidence.
What a beautiful sight it is, AT&T Stadium, and only CBS has TV's #1 drama, the #1 comedy, and so many of your favorite shows. Thanks for making CBS America's most watched network. And how about this duo right here? They go by 42 and 43. 42nd and 43rd presidents enjoying the game together. President Clinton, President George W. Bush.
Bipartisan sportsmanship.
I like they've become good friends, and they do a lot of speaking events together. They're heading up to Canada in a few weeks to do another one. And President Bush came to the opening ceremony to welcome the teams to his hometown as Napier says hello to three-point land once again.
You know, I was just about to comment on how the zone for Calipari has kind of changed the rhythm a little bit, but it hasn't changed the effectiveness of Napier.
This is an excellent three-point shooting team, 39% on the season. They make more than 7 per game, so a zone is pretty risky with all those shooters.
Here's Young stepping up. That's a 2. And flying through for the rebound is Aaron Harrison. And the foul's on Boatwright. It's his second.
Take a look at Napier. And this is, you're not expecting a shot to be taken from 8 feet beyond the three-point line, but he's got the ability to make that shot. And now what happens after you make a shot like that, now you got to take a step further out, which will allow him to get into the teeth of the defense.
The other thing is, as a shooter, when you've seen zone 3 straight possessions, now you're sitting on that shot because you know what's going to be there for you.
And that one's not there for Aaron Harrison. He's missed on his first 2 shots from 3 tonight. Put him in the last minute, though. They always go. And here's Nolan. Denied by Randall. The second magnificent block tonight. Andrew Harrison again. Got the tough angle, but got the pass out. And Young is able to hit the jumper.
And that play is important because Andrew Harrison made a play for a teammate. Typically, his attacks result in shots at the rim. That time, he creates for a teammate. That's a big basket for the Wildcats.
Young has 10 of Kentucky's 23 after that three-point shot. With 3.5 to play and a half that's been controlled by Connecticut. But Kentucky right now is starting to create a little havoc here for the Huskies.
Really unforced errors, though, Jim. I mean, it's not like they're getting after them defensively. It's just a little confusion in their zone offense, which is, I think, unwarranted.
Well, what's happened, though, is the game is slowed down somewhat, and it allows Kentucky's size to have more impact. They're so big in the backcourt as well as the front line that there's not a lot of space to operate for UConn.
And 3 more by Andrew Harrison. 2 for 2 from beyond the arc.
You guys said it. We've seen this every game in the tournament. They find a way to battle back.
Yep, very familiar script. Kentucky's 4 out of 9 from 3. And here's Napier. And Kentucky controls it again.
9 3-point attempts from Kentucky already, 5 the entire semifinal win over Wisconsin.
And that's going to be a hold on Nolan down low. First on Nolan. It's an 11-3 stretch. Maybe the freshmen have finally found their footing. Ollie's 15-point lead has been trimmed to 7 by Coach Cal's Wildcats. There's going to be an unbelievable matchup tomorrow night on ESPN, the Division I Women's Basketball National Championship game. First time in history, women's basketball history, 2 undefeated teams will play for the national title. You've got Notre Dame looking for its 2nd national title, and UConn looking for its 9th, and that's tomorrow night. For more information, go to NCAA.com.
You know, give John Calipari a lot of credit for going to the zone here, and the thing about it is UConn executes it perfectly. They get into the high post, they make the right decision, but sometimes you can't out-execute athleticism, and that was just a terrific athletic play by Kentucky to save that basket.
But the other issue is that they're playing against this zone without Daniels. With the 2 fouls, it's been an 11-3, now 12-3 run for the Wildcats since Daniels sat down. And it makes a huge difference, obviously. He's their big scorer during this run.
So Dakari Johnson hits the front end of a 1-and-1, only a 44% shooter from the line. And somehow Napier is the one who's able to control it. Define to the baseline. Back out Napier from the wing. That is way over everything. And let's go over to Tracy.
Well, guys, Kentucky well aware about Julius Randle, and during that timeout, they continuously look over to see if Randle is going to start, he's going to go out there, or he's going to stay on the bench. Also, John Calipari right now really liking the energy from his team. He's been on them all game about it.
And again, they've gotten basically nothing from Randle with this, and a couple of great blocks by him, but not a field goal. Is Hawkins passes up the shot. Here is Randle taking it inside, and he's shut down, and Napier again got the quick hands on it, and the ball's on the floor. It leads to a tie-up, and it stays at the Wildcats' end. With 1:51 to go in this first half, Kentucky clawing back. 6 down. Kentucky trying to become only the 2nd number 8 seed to win the title. Villanova did it back, of course, 85, that epic win on the Wildcats floor there at Rupp Arena. Kentucky and UConn since '96, each with 3 national titles, as the Huskies go for 4 tonight in a 15-year span. But right now, this latest span, 12-3 stretch for Kentucky. Ever since Daniels went down with 2 fouls, things have changed. Napier, big step to the hole, twists the shot, and somehow able to contort and get the 2.
Goodness.
Well, with Daniels on the bench, not much floor spacing for UConn. Kentucky went back to a man-to-man. That's just Napier doing what he does.
Broke a 4:45 drought without a basket. Lee is down low for Kentucky. Here's Randle, and he lays it in for the first time tonight.
But again, another good decision by Harrison to get Randle on the move to allow that explosive ability to take hold. We haven't talked about it much, but remember, Kentucky, they have a huge foul advantage in this game. Already 7 fouls committed against UConn. They've only committed 3. They lead the country in free throw attempts. That's another way they're able to kind of work themselves back into games. And they've shown that over the course of this tournament.
10 to shoot. Freshman drives in, lost it. It was Andrew Harrison who forced the steal and is picked off the floor by Lee. Kentucky can get the last shot. And let's see how poised the freshmen are with this use of the clock right here. Andrew taken off with 6. Driving up high off the glass for Randle. Randle able to pluck it and bring it down and put it up and get fouled, and a chance at the 3-point play.
And again, we talked about the adjustment Kentucky would have to make, and sometimes you got to become a playmaker. It wasn't a great pass, but it was the right decision by Andrew Harrison to get the basketball over to Randall.
First thought he was bouncing it off the glass.
He was trying to throw a lob with his left hand. Again, though, and that's the adjustment they've made. That shows a lot of maturity. You know, sometimes you can't just keep going with the same thing, and they've made an adjustment to be more of a playmaker here down the stretch of this first half.
So Randall getting going here a little bit in the last minutes of the first half.
Yeah, based on the help he's gotten from the Harrisons. A little more screen and roll action from Kentucky rather than that one-on-one style we saw against Wisconsin. I think they found they just couldn't get around those two guards early in this game.
From midcourt, the shot on its way, and it's too high. Grima, who had just picked up his second foul on the Randall basket. So, for the 5th NCAA tournament game in a row, Kentucky goes to the locker room either trailing or tied. Down 4 after being down 15 at one point. Let's go over to Tracy.
Thanks a lot, Coach. You had a fast start there. Kentucky battled back. They're a second-half team, so what do you need to get back to doing in the second half here?
Well, we're a second-half team, too. So whatever Kentucky is, we're going to go one step further. We got to play together. We had some turnovers. They start getting on the offensive rebounds. We got to stop penetration. They start getting into our yard. We want to protect that. I like our position, and we just got to play at a level 5 and finish this game off.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Jim?
Led by Napier's 15 points. But again, that lead at one time was 15. Coming up, AT&T at the half. EJ, Greg, and all the guys with their first half analysis, plus the winner of the Naismith Award is revealed on AT&T at the half. To the locker rooms with UConn leading at 35-31. And we'll return after these messages. You're watching the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Bright lights on AT&T Stadium, and just a moment ago, Tracy spoke with Coach Calipari.
Coach, Julius Randle does not look like himself. Just 3 shots, 2 rebounds. What's giving him so much trouble out there?
He's 18. He and Andrew, they're young. They're nervous. They got away from what we were trying to do. See, when you have that anxiety, it's hard to be aggressive. And so I just told him, we're going to win this thing. We're down 2 buckets if you'll play with energy and lose yourself in a game. I'm happy where we are. I mean, we should have been down 20. So we got a chance to win this.
Thanks a lot.
And again, this is what we've seen over and over again. They keep rallying late in the first half, and eventually the last 4 minutes, they've owned it in this tournament. Things changed when DeAndre Daniels went out for Connecticut.
And that's a great point. Both he and Boatwright got into foul trouble, and there was an issue for UConn. 8 fouls committed, only 3 for Kentucky. Changes how they play the game, and I think that also helped Kentucky get back in it.
Yeah, and I thought Young's 2 3-pointers there during that stretch were just huge because Kentucky couldn't find anything offensively. Little penetration, kick out, he makes 2 threes. Now they feel good about themselves. And then, of course, Randall with those 2 late hoops. So I think Kentucky now has some footing.
There's the numbers from the first half. Young hit a couple of threes, as you pointed out, and so too did Andrew Harrison, who made both of his attempts from behind the line. So Kentucky to inbound. We've got 20 minutes to go to decide the national champion. Randall feeds it outside, and that is the shot. Once again, we've seen in the late going over and over by Aaron Harrison, his first 3 of the night.
Big shot, and also a really good decision by Randall to make a play for his teammate.
DeAndre Daniels, and that's way short. Short trip it is, too. Young.
John Calipari wanted a foul there. He thought Young was bumped. And UConn, I didn't think, got a great whistle in the first half. They had a couple of touch fouls that really hurt them, particularly Daniels sitting down, Boatwright as well. So we'll see if Boatwright and Daniels can get back into the flow after sitting for quite a bit there late in the half.
And meantime, only 3 fouls called on Kentucky in that half, none of them by a starter. Here's Boatwright, and able to free himself. That separation leads to the basket.
Yeah, and you can see his mother there enjoying it. And I think it's a little easier for Boatwright to work himself back into the rhythm because he can do it with his defense. Daniels is going to be more of an issue for UConn. Can he get into the flow offensively?
There's Randall. He has to go back out with it. Here's Young now. And underneath it's going to be on Dakari Johnson. How about the way at the other end, Boatwright was able to free himself.
Yeah, just again, the ability to create that space, that step back there, and then to go up in rhythm. That's going to be a challenge all night for Kentucky when Randall and Young have to defend one-on-one on the perimeter against Boatwright and Napier.
And that's the first foul on a Kentucky starter in this game. The one on Johnson. Napier gives it up, and another clean block, they say, by Kentucky, and it's going to stay with UConn. Nolan's had a couple of them stuffed.
Kentucky changing its defense, chasing over the top, and Napier gets the ball right where it needs to be, but there's that length again on the backside.
And we said it earlier, it's, sometimes you just cannot out-execute the elite level athleticism that Kentucky possesses down low.
They take Nolan out, and they bring in Amita Brima.
And that's specifically to finish that play. If Kentucky is going to go away from switching and try to hedge and get over, Napier's going to get in the lane. Brima is going to be more capable of finishing on the receiving end of those passes.
And they're going to review the shot clock here.
So here's what we're talking about. Instead of switching now, it's kind of a chase. Randall backs off, so Napier's going to get right there. The officials are looking whether to see whether the ball hit the rim or not, which I believe it did.
It did.
Yeah, so 35 is correct.
So UConn to inbound underneath with the full 35, and the last time they inbounded from this point in the first half, Napier beat him with a shifty move to the inside. This time he's unable to take it inside, and that's going to stay with the Huskies. Seemed to be a debate about that one, though. Kevin Ollie, first NCAA tournament, and he's 5-0. Was this the right call?
From that angle, I couldn't tell if it deflected off of Napier or not.
Looks like the shot clock was a little slow to start on the inbounds throw by Defy, and once it touched the Husky player, it took a couple of seconds to get it started. Boatwright down low, and another block, this time by Dakari Johnson. Brima and Nolan having fits, trying to just finish from right underneath.
Yeah, and it's a great play by Dakari Johnson coming over, but Brima had to make a play with the basketball in that possession as opposed to catching it above the rim.
Now they're giving the ball back to UConn. The Husky players retreated thinking that it was Kentucky ball. And now the Kentucky fans letting the officials have it.
Inbounds to Boatwright. Got a three on the way. Two Wildcats underneath.
Now the UConn bigs aren't going to finish underneath, and Napier and Boatwright are going to have to hit those little mid-range shots against this pick-and-roll defense.
And Daniels has to get more involved offensively as well.
Yeah, we've been talking about Randall. They've got to get on the UConn side. Definitely Daniels. And Johnson to the line as he's hacked by Brima. Daniels has only 4 points after a 27-point outing against Iowa State, 20 points against Florida. And by the way, that's number 3 on Brima. Dakari Johnson again, about 44% from the line. Coke Zero wants to know, are you a real fan? Hashtag prove it. Visit the Coke Zero social arena in March Madness Live.
And that's part of the dilemma for Kevin Ollie. He'd love to have Brima on the floor, but at this stage of his career, he's so foul prone that he's not going to be able to play those extended minutes. And so Nolan's going to have to come up, I think, and make some plays here.
Another sloppy mistake by the Huskies, who about 5 minutes ago in the first half, things started to go that way for them. Harrison with the left hand, and UConn able to shield off the Wildcats.
I tell you, they've done a great job on the glass. Actually have a 21-18 edge, and for the most part, other than that last couple minutes of the first half, they've kept Kentucky off the offensive boards.
You see that? Napier almost knocked Boatwright backwards.
I was a little upset about that last turnover.
Well, I think also he didn't run the right set, Boatwright, that they had called in terms of that possession.
Here's Daniels, and he is not putting up the same kind of game we saw in the semifinal. He's 2 out of 7 from the field. UConn's made only one of 6 in this half. Kentucky's a 3-point shot away from tying this. Young got stuck. And out of there with it are the Huskies. No foul call. Boatwright to Daniels. Struggled to get a clean handle. Napier soars to save it. Into the lane and a dish. Daniels also saves it. Wide open, passed up. Napier swings it to Boatwright, and look at this ball handling by UConn.
I would have liked to see Napier take that shot, but you're not going to get a more wide open look against this Kentucky defense.
Here's Kafai. Daniels trying to keep it for him, but Randall has it. Now Kentucky drives in, and Andrew Harrison cuts it to 1.
And you can just see the difference in the energy level right now. Kentucky far more aggressive. They've got UConn on their heel.
And you can hear it too, Greg. There's a foul on Harrison, but the crowd predominantly blue-clad, Kentucky blue, as they climb back into this game with their defense and their transition game. There's Harrison getting all the way to the rim, and the lead down to 1.
Welcome back, and Kentucky has rattled this UConn team. Take a look here. Ryan Boatwright not running the right set, and the senior Shabazz Napier telling him, hey, listen, let's get back into executing here, because in essence they're playing into Kentucky's hands. And you know what? That's another reason why he didn't pull that trigger on that 3, I believe, is because he understands the importance of them continuing to run their offense and to execute, because to start this half, Kentucky's come out with energy and fire and confidence, and that's why right now they're on the verge of being able to take the lead.
Kentucky's put them on their heels, and UConn's put themselves on their heels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think some of these mistakes have been really self-inflicted by the Huskies.
So 2 shots coming for Napier. Mom Carmen, she doesn't miss these games ever. She's the reason he came back to get his degree in sociology this summer. NCIS Los Angeles, all new starting tomorrow, 8/7 Central, on America's #1 network. So Napier looking for a 17th point.
And you know, the other thing that's happened is Andrew and Aaron Harrison have made the adjustment to the quickness of UConn. They've been much better since about the 10-minute mark of that first half at picking their spots, at getting into the teeth of the defense, and also creating not only for themselves but their teammates.
Now a little different look by UConn, dropping back into that 2-3 zone.
The Harrison twins, they're Houston area kids. This is Poitras spinning, and it's going against Kentucky.
I'm not sure about that one. I don't know if Nolan had position there. He was a little late arriving, and he kind of leans in, and more than anything, it's just a flop. That's a play on. Poitras got right to the rim. Not a whole lot of contact.
Not a lot. The spin negates some of the contact, and he sold it to the official. I thought he was there, but I just didn't know if there was enough contact.
Third foul on Poitras, and it takes away the basket. It looked like, to me, it should have been a no call. And now Napier weaving through that Wildcat defense with 5 to shoot. Behind the back to Daniels. Takes it to the paint, puts it up. And he can't find it right now.
Yeah, good job with the help defense, though, by Dakari Johnson, coming over, establishing position, and forcing Daniels to have to go over it.
Andrew to Aaron. Aaron right here. Poitras, a three. Would have tied it. Get down and out.
Not really a three-point shooter. UConn will live with that one. Poitras only made 8 threes all season.
Down low. And a turnover.
Yeah, a little too much English, and Napier probably more frustrated with himself there.
But they're getting out of character. I mean, he tried to throw the ball through the legs. You know, this is not the time for that kind of play. Napier, too experienced, too good, but they're getting a little frustrated because of their lack of ability to penetrate this defense.
Marcus Lee in for the Wildcats. He has really blossomed in this tournament, particularly back in Indianapolis. Huge game he had against Michigan with 4 dunks and 10 points. Over to Randall. Randall stopped. And this time is fouled.
That might be Daniels, Jim.
Daniels comes over the back, but
it's going to be called on Nolan. His second.
That's big. They were both in the play, and Daniels immediately looked up at the officials like pleading, please don't give it to me.
2 shots coming for Julius Randall, taught the game of basketball by his mother Carolyn, who played not even 10 minutes from here at the University of Texas at Arlington. There she is. She wore number 30, so he wears her number to honor her, and she named him Julius after Irving.
Now that's 5 straight missed free throws for Kentucky. Remember, this is one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country in UConn, and one that's not so good in Kentucky. 6 for 13 overall for the Wildcats, and UConn has not missed, although they've only been there 6 times.
Poitras in for Randall.
The one thing, though, if you're UConn, as poorly as you played, you're only -2.5. So you've done a decent enough job defensively to see if you can get the rhythm back into your offensive game.
They've got to get their guards back to their dominant selves, but UConn has not been able to get the penetration from Napier and Boatwright.
To Nolan, and again, Nolan underneath. Just not strong enough with the hands to finish. Boatwright sees that one coming, and he falls right on Harrison.
And that's probably the first aggressive defensive play we've seen from UConn's backcourt in quite some time.
Yeah.
And
the 10th turnover for Kentucky. We talked about it, only 4 all game against Wisconsin, but a much different look.
And it's an easy call if the Kentucky fans are upset, but you cannot take a charge once a guy is already in the air.
Well,
plus, it was
they were lucky that
was a good
call was made. Yeah,
there's Boatwright. He lost it. Able to get it back. Huskies have not made a field goal in over 6 minutes, missing their last 7 shots. Napier lobs it down low. Daniels, he'll finish. No, taps it once and gets it to go.
Boy, that's a big basket for Daniels. Just to see something go through, to see if that gets him some confidence, because I think that's really more critical right now, that he get going offensively for UConn.
This is going to go against UConn, and it's Nolan for the 3rd time.
This is when you know you're struggling. Point blank, and misses it. Now he gets the break. Maybe this will get him going. I think it's critical right now. This is Napier's game. Kentucky has changed its pick and roll coverage. They're fighting over the top. Napier can attack this Kentucky defense. Now's the time. His team needs him to do it. He's got to be ultra aggressive and look to score right now.
I agree with you, but I think for me, UConn's defense has to get back going.
Yeah.
See, the game has gotten so slow that it's allowed Kentucky's size to have more impact. That's why we're seeing a lot of these contested shots and block shots, because there's nothing in terms of flow. It's really standstill offensively for UConn, and in part it's because defensively they haven't created any energy or any transition opportunity.
Napier goes to the bench, give him a few extra seconds on the breather. Soon we'll have the under 12 timeout. Boatwright to defy, and there's a 3-point shot by the senior from Berlin.
Coach Calipari can't believe it. He's yelling at Young. Kentucky went 2-3 zone for a different look. Defy is a corner three-point shooter. Young too late.
Look at Boatwright. Boatwright with Harrison there. And Harrison is going to be called on the hammer, his second. So free throws coming out of this break for Boatwright. It was 4 at halftime. UConn plus 1.5. A tradition unlike any other. CBS Sports will proudly present the Masters from Augusta National Golf Club this week and get exclusive coverage throughout the week on CBS Sports Network and online with Masters Live. 44-39, Jim Nance, Steve Kerr, Greg Anthony, Tracy Wolfson. How about that last possession by the Huskies that led to a
Take
basket?
a look right there at Defy, and you saw Calipari talking about James Young. You see how he doesn't recognize the personnel. That's what Defy is out there for, is to space it and shoot the three if you overcommit. And those are the kinds of plays in a 1-2 possession game that could be the difference. That's why Calipari was so animated with him and losing focus on a huge possession when Napier wasn't even on the floor.
And they keep Napier on the bench with a little bit more time for him to recover. He's gone almost the entire way.
This is more than likely his last rest.
Exactly.
So I think Kevin Ollie would like to get him maybe another minute or so, but no sense waiting around and messing around in this game. Napier's not a guy who's going to get overly fatigued.
Remember, Kentucky had cut it to 1, and now it's back up to 7.
And Greg, you said this during the break. Kentucky may have blown an opportunity here. UConn was 3 for 13 to start this half, and yet the Wildcats have lost ground.
They haven't hit a shot in the last 4 minutes at this end. Randall doubled up, and that's into the first row. Let's go over to Tracy.
Well, guys, during that last timeout, Napier jumped into the Connecticut huddle and he said, come on, guys, we need to control the post. But it's not about how good we play defensively or offensively, but it's how we want to win this game, how bad you want it. That's all he wanted to get across, guys.
Well, they had valuable possessions when they had him on the bench. And here he takes the shot, coming back in and upping the lead to 9.
He is one of the best you'll see in college basketball at just having a feel for the game and playing with the right amount of pace for every possession. Never overextends and really takes himself out of the game.
Young able to get in. Slam it home and to the line.
And I believe that's going to be 4 on Brima.
It is.
This is spectacular.
It is spectacular. And how about this? If Brima gets a piece of it, but he's still able to power through here. Watch there. He gets a piece of it, able to still power through. And that possession, too. Really, that's Terrence Samuel, though. You can't allow blow-bys in situations like that because that's in essence how the bigs tend to pick up fouls.
And once again, Young getting to his left hand. You've got to try to force him right if you can.
And that's a huge basket. The thing about a play like that, it's a momentum play, too. Let's see if the energy level rises for these young Wildcats.
Yeah, the 5 freshman starters are back on the floor.
And back to the zone for Kentucky. Defy on the bench. Remember, he just hit the 3, so a little less shooting now for the Huskies against this zone.
Napier lost it.
Wow, that's, you know what? It's funny, the official wasn't going to make the call until Napier started to plead with him that it was a kick ball.
And it sure was.
You know what? Initially, I was saying that because it has to be intentional. You can dribble, and I thought he did reach out to kick the basketball.
It was like
there.
a hockey goalie making a kick save. That was a great call.
Defy is back out to give him that shooting presence against that zone. Defy, of course, having just hit a 3 a couple of trips ago.
Yeah, James Young better be a little more aware of his position in the corner of that zone.
Daniels steps up, back of the rim. Young again goes to his left and will go to the line.
Young was the one who stemmed the tide for Kentucky in the first half with those 2 threes. And now he's doing it again. A 3-point play with the dunk and a couple of free throws, and the momentum right back the Wildcats way.
And a third foul on DeAndre Daniels, who misses at one end, commits the foul at the other. Thursday night football coming this fall to CBS and NFL Network. We're excited about it. Coming this September on Thursday nights. And there is Tony Romo with Jason Witten. And Tony and his wife Candace is there on the right of the screen. They just had their second child, little boy named Rivers, born on March 18th.
Name him after Phillip Rivers? What's a big admirer of the Chargers?
Other boy Hawk, and now they've got Rivers.
Well, let's see now. Kentucky in that zone. Daniels not in the game, so they don't have that guy in the middle of the zone that can make plays other than Gaffai.
Gaffai got Randall to commit. And off the back of that one, too. Off the back of the rim. Couple of empty trips for the Huskies. And Harrison dishes to Dakari Johnson for the easy two. And now, again, a momentum shift. And live from Lexington, a 6-0 run that's really been fueled. The spark came by Young.
Exactly what Charles Barkley talked about in the halftime show.
Uh-oh, Boatwright looks like he's hurt. Calling a timeout. He is hurt.
I didn't see it. Did he roll his ankle here on the catch?
Yeah, yeah. Wow, with exactly 9 minutes to go in the half. And one of the biggest players on this Husky roster has to call timeout. 3-point game here in Texas. Young leading Kentucky. Napier 19 for UConn. And how about this? Boatwright, after the timeout, stays on the floor.
But it is a national championship game, right? I mean, you got to fight through whatever it is.
You can ice it tomorrow.
They have 10 to shoot here. Napier. And it's Randall. Only Randall underneath. Here comes Kentucky now.
And let's see if Boatwright can continue to defend the dribble drive with that ankle.
Gaffai trying to guard Randall. If Randall can get ahead of steam, he can go right through Gaffai. That's a tough matchup.
This would tie it. Boatwright could have made a play on that rebound, but didn't have it.
Well, he also didn't fight over the screen.
Here's the lob to Young. And Young again is going to go back to shoot two. When Boatwright came onto the floor out of the break, he was walking on his heels.
Like trying to stretch it out.
Yep.
Yeah. But then also, you made the point, Jim, he didn't fight over that pick and roll, which is the first time that's happened in the game. And then he wasn't able to get to that loose basketball, which he had been doing earlier in the game.
Fourth foul on Nolan and the 6th team foul on the Huskies. And let's go to Tracy.
You mentioned that Boatwright is trying to stretch it out. Well, during that last huddle, he had the athletic trainer over there. His hand was on that left foot, just trying to stretch it the whole time. Kevin Ollie didn't talk to him at all during the huddle, but then once he went out onto the floor, he walked over and asked him if he's okay, and he just said, I'm going to tough it out, guys.
That's smart. You wait until he's already on the floor to ask him if he's okay, because then it's too late for him to go back to the bench.
Well, plus you don't want to distract the rest of your team while you're in the midst of that timeout, keeping the focus on the game.
That's the third time Kentucky in this half has trimmed the margin to 1.
UConn has to free up Napier. They've got to set better screens and get him maybe even off the ball before he receives the ball to make another play.
Here's Napier. That ball seemed to come out as he was on the way up, but they say it last touched Kentucky. It'll be Husky basketball coming back from the under-8. And the Young Cats control things down the stretch as they have every tournament game.
Men's National Championship Game is sponsored by UPS, TD Ameritrade, Jeep Cherokee, and by Godzilla.
Huskies to inbound. Having missed their last 5 shots in over 3 minutes without a hoop. Kentucky has never led in this game, but they brought it back to 1 on 3 occasions after trailing by as many as 15 in the first half. It's Napier in traffic, in trouble, and bounces it out right to Aaron Harrison.
And that was just great defense by Kentucky. Did a good job of holding containment, but also being disciplined to not overextend their help.
Wildcats can take the lead for the first time. Who else? Aaron Harrison, not this time. On the floor. That's Poitras taking it down with him. They say jump ball, UConn.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
Looked like Poitras got fouled there. Let's take a look.
He's got ball there.
You know what?
He is, you know, I know there's contact, but he's also got his hand on the ball. In essence, neither guy has possession in that respect.
That was Chroma.
That's a big play, too, for UConn.
Switches the arrow at the 7-minute mark to Kentucky, but UConn able to dodge that one attempt for the lead for the first time in the game for Kentucky.
Boy, Kentucky's defense has been dramatically better since that opening barrage.
Napier, wow, right over Aaron Harrison. Napier now with 22. And at Gamble Pavilion right on campus, where many a banner flies. They go crazy over that shot. Here's Randall getting in.
Wow, oh my goodness, what a move there.
One of his best moves of the whole tournament.
It's a great play there.
They've run that play throughout the tournament. Kevin Ollie pleading with his team. I guarantee you they went over that play during shoot-around and practice yesterday, but UConn did not recognize the action.
Here's Giffey, top of the key, and they hit back-to-back threes. First it was Napier, then it was Giffey. 2 of the 3 holdovers from the 2011 National Championship team.
And Ollie goes zone. He's worried about this Randall-Giffey matchup, and it looks like they're going to go with a little 2-3 zone or a matchup zone.
And they've gone small, UConn, so also they're going to have to really be connected on that defensive backboard if they can force a miss.
Here's Young stepping up for the 2. And that one sails past the rim. And this is going back to Connecticut.
But you talked about that play there, just a rub screen, and it's tough because the guards aren't really the ones used to having to provide the help on what's in essence a pick and roll, and then a nice delivery, and Giffey in rhythm there, not hesitating, knocking down that triple.
And now Kentucky goes back to the zone. Both teams really changing their defenses throughout this second half, trying to corral the other one.
And also, as we start to get down the stretch, both these teams have been terrific down the stretch of games.
3-point shot for 3 in a row. That time it was Daniels. And the outside game for him tonight is just not there. He's 3 for 12 from the field. Now Randall challenging Daniels. Goes baseline on him. And this will probably be, it is on Giffey, not Daniels.
He's just so strong. And, you know, you back off him because you want to force him to shoot, but when you give him space, now he gets that head of steam. And it's tough to take a charge on Randall because he's so shifty as he attacks the hoop. And as you mentioned, Greg, this small lineup for UConn, they're going to have a very difficult time keeping him away from the hoop.
And this is also the irony of it. This is a small lineup for Kentucky. It's just there, so as you can see, Julius Randle's parents, it's just that they have, with that size, great quickness. When you look at Randall and Poitras, so they can go play the 4 and the 5 and still be able to not be liabilities necessarily in the half court.
They're hurting themselves big time at the line. And that's going back to Kentucky. Out of bounds, Napier.
Boatwright and Napier each went after it, and they were thinking the same thing. I'm going to grab this and throw it to the same guy.
Yeah, they wanted to throw it to each
out
other.
of bounds. Yep.
stolen by Napier.
I'm surprised, Greg, that he didn't push.
And Andrew Harrison says, I'll take it right back, thank you. They've got the numbers.
That was a surprising development. Napier, I don't know if he's tired.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, but a heads-up play.
He's making mistakes you never see from him.
You're exactly right.
Well, listen, he's won a national championship, but he wasn't the guy on that team. He's got a different responsibility. This is a huge moment in his career. And he's going against a team in Kentucky that is battle-tested. They've been here, in essence, the entire tournament.
And they missed the front end of a one-and-one Aaron Harrison. 13 out of 23, Kentucky from the line. And that's really the difference.
It is. And Kentucky staying with this versatile defensive lineup. Dakari Johnson on the bench because of the pick and roll coverage. Calipari feels very comfortable with Poitras and Randall down there.
Roma was in a jam, was able to get it out to Gaffey, and now Boatwright looks up and realizes 5 to shoot. Over Randall. Oh, wow. Forget about that ankle.
And this is one thing, I remember talking with Billy Donovan before their matchup with UConn. He said they're one of the best teams in the country last 10 seconds of the shot clock because of that ability of Napier and Boatwright to make plays.
Randall taking it in. Oh! And a foul on UConn. Poitras in a number of tournament games has come up with a block or a slam in the last minutes that have created sparks. Here's another one. He'll be shooting a free throw out of the break.
Coverage of the NCAA Men's National Championship game is sponsored by the Quicksilver Card from Capital One, Lexus, Samsung Galaxy S5, and by Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
And let's take a look at the Capital One Cup. Impact performance.
It's been UConn's Shabazz Napier, and he's done it when his team has needed it time and time again offensively, but he's also leading them in rebounds with 6 in this game, which we talked about how important it was, and you saw an example there by that offensive rebound by Poitras.
And you know, one of the things we often see in a tournament game, particularly a championship game, teams tend to try to protect the lead, but 4 minutes is a long time. I think both clubs need to look to really maintain their aggressiveness and look to score.
I think that sprained left knee from the victory pile is just fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
But failing to hit the free throw for the three-point play.
We're wondering with UConn, how long do they stay with this small lineup? I think you stay with it until Kentucky proves they can defend it. Because even though Kentucky's scoring, you've also scored consistently.
Napier. That would have been a big one. And it's Poitras. Jumps out to get that rebound.
I like the shot, though.
Young. And Gaffey. Coming out of the pack, it's Boatwright.
And that's an example right there, what you talked about, Steve. That's an opportunity to go early transition. Doesn't mean you got to shoot it, but you could at least see if Kentucky's able to get back.
Yeah, put some pressure on the defense. And how about that play from Gaffey, staying in front without fouling and then getting the rebound.
Lob it underneath to Daniels. 2 Wildcats commit. Daniels waited and was rewarded.
We saw that same play against the zone, mind you, against Florida, where they were able to go over the top. There's a bit of a fatigue issue really on both sides, and you can lose sight of your responsibilities defensively.
Huskies trying to bring another championship banner back to Gamble for the 4th time in 15 years since '99. And another empty trip here for the Wildcats with 2:20 to play. As Boatwright flips it back to Napier.
Well, Randall had a point-blank shot. Gaffey again staying in front, just causing enough of a movement from Randall to miss that shot.
And then UConn able to get that defensive rebound, which is also equally as important.
Yeah, they've won the battle of the boards to this point. 32-31. Who would have guessed that?
Inside 2 minutes for the national title. Gaffey. That would have made it 8. And look at that offensive rebound all the way back out to Napier.
Timeout. We talked about what would win out. Would it be the size of Kentucky or the quickness of UConn?
Stay tuned after the game for Inside March Madness, presented by Buick on True TV. Can you imagine Kevin Ollie, your first ever NCAA tournament as a head coach? You almost got to the Final Four as a player, got knocked out in the Elite Eight your last year in '95, and there he is, Kevin Ollie. And one thing about this, there's his son, by the way, who's going to be a big-time quarterback.
You look at that foul situation, that's big. Kentucky with only 5 fouls, so 1 to give, and then a 1-and-1 after that. But don't forget, UConn has finished off every game with unbelievable foul shooting in this tournament.
So, now with 1:40 and in no hurry, with a 6-point lead. Working it down. This great free throw shooting team goes outside. Wide open on the wing. He hasn't hit one from here tonight. And that's tapped out going to Kentucky. Daniels, you know, they usually need Daniels to have that big game. They're not getting it from him tonight, and they're still up 6.
The 2 fouls early kind of took him out of rhythm, and he hasn't made a 3. 0 of 4. That might have sealed it right there.
It might have, but also UConn defensively, though, has done the job. Kentucky offensively has been spectacular this entire tournament.
Young able to slide in there for the 2. As we approach a minute.
You still don't have to foul if you're UConn or Kentucky. You just need to play solid defense and secure possession here.
Remember, a foul won't put him on the line. That's going to be the 16th foul right there.
I don't like that foul.
I don't either, because now they're in the penalty.
Well, 1 more, but John Calipari calls timeout. This is what he wants to discuss, the foul situation and the clock. Remember, these are all freshmen, except for Poitras, a very young club.
Time to square off here, guys. Greg, you're first with Kentucky.
Yeah, listen, we both understand why he calls a timeout there, but you've done 2 things. 1, now you put UConn in the penalty. 2, you've reset the shot clock, and now that gives them the opportunity to run this all the way down. Remember, this is a 2-possession game, not a 1-possession, so this is going to be really important right now.
And you got to foul the right guy, assuming UConn gets the ball in, which they do. If you foul Napier, it's going to be danger time. It looks like Kentucky is going to play this out.
Aaron Harrison looks over to his coach and able to knock it loose. Little helter-skelter for a moment. 15 to shoot. 30 left in the game. Underneath, wide open, and falling right on top of Chroma.
Just a horrendous defensive possession for Kentucky. If you're not going to foul, then don't foul. And don't leave the guy wide open underneath. It was like a late double team that really wasn't necessary. It looked like Young just left his man.
And Steve, I really felt once he made the foul to call the timeout, you almost have to foul at that point, because remember, this is also a great free throw shooting team.
He's now 7 of 7 in the tournament.
That was I mean, again, it's a young team. That's one of the disadvantages to the inexperience, because you got to make sure they know what you want to do. But boy, that's a critical decision by Calipari that may backfire.
And Poitras with his 4th foul. UConn 10 for 10 at the line.
No 3s. If you're UConn, play the 3-point line. Make this into a 3-possession game, not a 2-possession.
Saved by Harrison. Takes the shot. Ball back out to Andrew for the 3, and that one's off. Tapped under the hands of Boatwright with 5 seconds, and this most improbable tournament run comes to an end with a UConn championship. The Huskies once again are in basketball heaven. bookend national championships for that remarkable young man right there, Shabazz Napier. And Kentucky denied the chance to set the mark as the youngest national championship team of all time. I was talking to Kevin Ollie yesterday. He knew that most people thought it was feeling like Kentucky's year, the outsiders. He said, my kids don't blink, you don't understand. We're tenacious, we're resilient, we're tough. That's the UConn way. The way I learned from my Hall of Fame mentor, Jim Calhoun. We're fighters. And that comes from the coach, Kevin Ollie, who carries the initials KO.
It's a great call. And also, a team will always take confidence when you feel like you have the best player on the floor. And Shabazz Napier was that tonight.
First number 7 seed to ever win the national championship. That almost lost in the very first game. Had to go to overtime to beat St. Joe's. What an unbelievable tournament it's been from the very start. A second ring for Napier, as well as Defy and Olander, who were on that 11 team. Kevin Ollie, you were 6-0 as a head coach in NCAA tournament play. You brought your alma mater to the promised land. The UConn Huskies are the 2014 national champions.
Pavilion in Stores, Connecticut. And why not be happy? The new champions of college basketball on the men's side are the UConn Huskies off of a 60-54 victory tonight. A reminder, this week on The Late Show, Dave is new with Lindsay Lohan, Rob Lowe, and friends with Better Lives star Brooklyn Decker. And tonight he has Jason Bateman. And then catch Craig Ferguson, only CBS. And coming up next, join us over on True TV as we continue from North Texas on Inside March Madness, presented by Buick. That is all coming up. And later in our post-game show, our annual tribute to the NCAA tournament, One Shining Moment. The champion UConn Huskies. Up next, the presentation of the 2014 National Championship Trophy. We'll be back with that and more as we continue live from North Texas on CBS. Of the basketball world, let's take you now down to the court for the trophy presentation to the new national champions. Jim Nance is with the UConn Huskies. Jim.
All right, thank you, Greg Gumbel. And ladies and gentlemen, the UConn Huskies, the national champions. I'm here with the president of the NCAA, Dr. Mark Emmert, and the chair of the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Committee, Ron Wellman, for the presentation of the national championship trophy to the Huskies and head coach Kevin Ollie.
Well, thank you, Jim. And first of all, congratulations to both the Kentucky Wildcats and UConn Huskies for the great tournament run that they had this year. Now, on behalf of the NCAA and the Division I Men's Basketball Tournament Committee, congratulations to Coach Kevin Ollie and the UConn Huskies as Mark Emmert presents the National Championship Trophy.
Wow. How do you put this one into words, Kevin? Coming out when, you know, you're a team that's a 7 seed, you lose a game by 33 in March, you know, right before the tournament, and you gel and go all the way to the title.
Right. I said in the beginning, 18 months ago when we started this process, that the last is going to be the first. And now we was last, and now we first. But we always did it together. And they was one as a group, and it was great. What's up, bro?
And then there's what you like to talk about, this UConn family and the UConn way of doing things. With all your entire basketball operations and staff, all UConn people.
My coaching staff, my players, all of us UConn, our family, all our alumni is here, and that's what it's all about. Coach Calhoun, the greatest coach ever, he paved the way, and we just walked through it. So I want to thank Coach, too.
Let me see if I can find Shabazz.
Where that trophy at, man?
Ryan, you want that trophy, but I thought with 9 minutes to go, we might not see you again. How did you manage to keep playing on?
Man, I got a lot of heart, man. I know my teammates is giving it they all, and we put in too much work all year for me to give up on the ankle sprain. This moment was too big.
Thank you, Ryan. Shabazz, bookend national championships. The dream comes true. You talked about you wanted this spot, your last game, to be the last game of the season with everything on the line. How do you describe this one?
Honestly, hey, I want to get everybody's attention right quick. If I can have your attention, if I don't have your attention, let me get your attention. Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at the Hungry Huskies. This is what happens when you ban us. Last year, 2 years, we worked so hard for it. 2 years and Hungry Huskies.
Shabazz, you've just been named the most outstanding player of the Final Four. Congratulations to the UConn Huskies. For the 4th time in 15 years, the trophy is heading back to Storrs, Connecticut, the national champions.